We have a lot of other things that Heritage Auctions put up over the weekend for graded video games that came up. And we're going to run through some of these that came up because I thought the fervor would have died down by now, but I am wrong. There are people that are wealthy with a lot of money that are, nicest way to say it, they are insane, and they are gambling with money, and they are speculating, and a lot of this money will be mostly lost when it comes down to it. So I'm going to do my good old sort in by price highest first. I don't know if you did that on here for view past sales items, but that's what I'm going to do here. So we're going to start with some of the big ones here.
Yeah, I've got price highest first.
The big one that made news was the Super Mario Brothers 9.4 grade hang tab mid-production. Super Mario Bros. Went for $114,000. Again, with the buyer's premium, that means it without that would have been like 90 or so here. Okay, so we know that the private Super Mario Brothers that went for whatever it was, $100,000 for that was technically the second print, but still sticker seal. But it was a way early print of it.
Right. This
is not a way early print. This is probably, let's see, if it has a hang tab here, it's 87, the latest. It's somewhere around it's probably around 87 or so. If I have to guess, I'm not an expert on all these different ones, but this is not the first year or two. Most likely, it's probably year 3 we're into here at this point. Since we're past the sticker seal and now we're on to regular seal. So what does this justify then that cost, or does it help solidify the cost of the first one? It makes that purchase look better, obviously, since that's a much earlier version of it. But I don't think it's a surefire hit. What you have to ask yourself is how easily are people being influenced by the previous cost versus this? Is it so much FOMO of that first one being, well, I got to get a sealed Mario. I got to get it no matter what, because if that one's going to be worth $1 million, maybe this one will be worth $500,000. There has to be that sort of thinking putting into something like this.
Yeah, mentally people might just be starting at, okay, this is going to run at least 90,000, and they're not even watching the money until it gets up to about that point.
Sure. Because now, is this one hard to find? It's obviously is not as hard to find as the sticker sealed. You won't find this one easily, but this one obviously will be easier to find than a sticker seal. There's going to be more of these that come out here. I don't know how many of these exist. I have seen sealed Super Mario Brothers at conventions. They are usually post hang tabs, so they're probably like, 90, 89, probably the last print runs I did of those, and those go for only hundreds because there's more of these. So yeah, maybe over time this one will obviously appreciate. You have to have, though, in order to establish these markets, you have to have more of these show up to really solidify them. When they're one-offs, you cannot say for certain this is what it's worth. And we've said that in the past for other items.
Yeah.
You just can't do it. You have to wait for more and more of these to appear. The same way, you can't say, well, that Spider-Man for 2,100 is worth, 9,000 because the more come out and the price just keeps plummeting.
Right. You need multiple data points to be able to make to say something.
Yeah. I'm not saying I'm going to be proven right over time, but you're not proven right because only one comes up and it's sold for that much. You're not. It takes years and data points, like Ian said, to do that. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, not even the first print, a Rev A, this is to me mind-boggling, went for $50,000. So Mike Tyson's Punch-Out is an interesting game because that's a game that appeals to a strictly one generation. Me and Ian's generation, like the Xennials, the last generation X, early millennials. We hold this game in a high regard. We will remember this game until we're dead. But as a franchise, well, Mike Tyson was only used originally, then he was gone within a few years.
Right.
They got him out. So it's really like to me, almost like I don't even know which way to go. I'm not even going to say this is underpriced or overpriced. This is where I'm kind of hedging my bets because since it's Mike Tyson and he's a famous, one of the most famous boxers ever, it's almost like a sports thing on top of that. I don't know. I still think 50,000 is insane, but could this be a game that 30, 40 years from now people still think, wow, this is Mike Tyson's Punch-Out? I don't know. I'm not going to say yes or no. This is to me the weirdest one for me to judge, to be honest.
Sure. It's a strange one.
You see that? Because it's like the franchise itself is pretty much gone for Punch-Out, but Mike Tyson's Punch-Out was one game. But people still bring it up today, but it's like people our age.
Yeah, as time goes on, I think the cachet is going to lose its...
Lose the merit of it? Yeah. But this wasn't even the first print that went for $50,000.
No, that's very strange.
I had the first print as a kid. I had it when it first came out. I wish I had that version and didn't open it from Crazy Eddie's in New Jersey.
Crazy Eddie.
I would have sold it. Their prices are insane, Ian. I don't know if you heard that. So that one's strange to me. But again, I don't know. It maybe over time that one will stick around. But a sealed Super Mario Brothers. There's 2 sealed Super Mario Brothers 3s. The first, the Left Bros, went for $38,400, and the later one, which is a 9.8 Ian, went for $20,400. If you want to say that first print run is something important, that's great. The later one isn't, because that's the most. They produce more Super Mario 3s than arguably any other NES game. They produce a ton of those.
How much work do you think the 9.8 is doing there on that price?
It could, but as our friend Sean Shermick, friend of the show, said at Reserved Investments, Ian, a 9.8 for a graded video game, glad you brought that up, doesn't mean the same for a comic book. Because a 9.8 sealed NES game especially I'm not saying for certainly, most likely means that was pulled from a factory case to be in that good a condition. For a game to reach the commercial shelf, like a commercial shelves like on Toys R Us or Kitty City, then get into a consumer's hands, get pulled from the case originally, go through all that, it'd be extremely hard to be that pristine a condition over 30 years. So that's what's so surprising, and I don't think that the investors are realizing that. I'm going to call them investors. I don't think they're collectors. They don't realize that. They're not educated enough to know that once you see a 9.8 for a game like that, there should be red flags going off. How many more of these are there out there?
Yeah, it's not that the 9.8 isn't valid. It's that if there's 6 in a box, and this has recently come from a box, you can make some assumptions that there's going to be more 9.8s out there.
And especially when
it doesn't change the fact, though, that in collecting, 9.8 is basically what everyone wants.
Sure, but it means something different for video games, which we'll get into. Right next to that, Ian, is the most shocking and insane one. I think the Super Mario Bros. 3 is insane for $20,400 because that's a sealed game that's not hard to find for NES games. But a Goldeneye for $19,200 in pristine WADA 9.8 A++ sealed condition. So this is probably the best possible grade you can get on this. Goldeneye was literally a million seller, like Super Mario Bros. 3 was, literally a million seller, so much that they re-released it with million seller on it for Goldeneye. Mm-hmm. They produce millions upon millions of Goldeneyes for N64. This was likely pulled from a case to be in this condition. There are others out there. And even if this one wasn't pulled from a sealed case, Goldeneye is only, 22 years old? What it came out, 98 or 97 or 90?
I think.
So once you get to the late 90s, and this is what I said on Sean's video talking about some of the stuff, once you get to the late 90s, when it comes to PlayStation, when you get to the PS2, N64, GameCube, the number of games that you can find sealed goes up tremendously because you're getting to a different stage of not, I believe, retail, but of people starting to realize that this stuff is kept. And it's just doing the math of, well, if it's 10 years old, Ian, you can find a lot more sealed. 15, maybe a little bit less, but still a lot. We're just in a different environment once you get to the late 90s. And that goes for toys, and that goes for other items. Once you get to even the late 80s of toys, everything is kept. Collectors realize it. And video game collecting by the late 90s started to be a thing. I'm not saying people will start to buy Goldeneyes to hoard them, but it's more likely by that point. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. You're getting to the point where people were there were definitely a lot of game collectors by the late 90s because I was and Ian was and other people. So if I had to guess how many sealed Goldeneyes are out there, not even the non-million seller, that's a whole other conversation. There's got to be, it's 3 digits, there's hundreds, I would say.
Sure. There's the million seller, knowing just how collectors are, would go for a lot less.
Yes, but I would even say this first print, there's hundreds that exist in warehouses, people's collections. I had to go and check. I wasn't sure if I had a sealed one. I actually, I'll get into it later. I had to go on my little database and go and see how many sealed games I have. Because at this point, I'm like, this is insane. I got to start checking to see what I have by accident.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So that to me is insane. I will say this with certainty. That price will not hold over time. That 19,000. That if 2 or 3 more come up in the next few months, that's going to go down.
Yeah, that's going to go. That's going to go right in the shitter.
Now this one, the Contra for $21,600, right? That to me, I'm confident in saying, and that's not even the first print of it. If you want to say it, this is what I'm going to say about some of these investors. They are thinking with their heart when it comes to these. I loved Contra, Ian, when it came out. It's a beloved game. So now I think that other people are going to love it generations behind me in order for this to decrease in value. This is to me, and I love Contra. Contra is to me one of my favorite all-time games. Contra is not one of those titles I think that would 50 years from now where you're going to tell the history of video games, you would have to bring up Contra. I don't think you'd have to. It's one of those ones that it's tier B plus when it comes to video game history. It's not A. And I think that's so important when you talk about, are these going to be good investments? To me, it has to qualify at least 2 things. It has to be rare or hard to find. It has to be important to video game history or culturally significant outside of game history. This is not culturally significant, I believe, outside of video game history. To video game history, it's important but not grade A. It's certainly not a rare game. It's common game. So it's like 1.5 out of 3. So this is where I think where you're thinking more with your heart. I'm gonna put myself in the mind of an investor who's buying this, who's probably a millionaire that doesn't give a shit if it takes a loss on it. Right. I'm just telling you over time how this is likely to play out there. Oh, by the way, there was a third Super Mario Bros. 3 that went for $10,200 at a 9.6. That's insane. It's insane. Okay, that's fucking insane.
That does tell us that the 9.8 was doing a good bit of carrying on that then.
But that's insane.
Yeah, it is.
When you see 3 of one item go for, I don't care if one is the left rows, whatever. So what? It came out 3 months before these other ones did, or a year. When you see 3 of a sealed game go in one auction, or 2 of the same one, there should be in your head buzzers going off. Two of this hard to find sealed game came up on one auction. That usually doesn't happen with a lot of the comics from like Golden Age. You know, like, oh, we got 2 Captain America #1s come up, because those are actually rare.
Right.
We know there's not many of those that actually exist. You can count those by double digits, not triple or maybe in some cases quadruple digits. Let's see. I love Rygar. It went for $12,600. That one's probably harder to find actually sealed, but I mean, come on. There's no huge love for Rygar there. This is my favorite one that went for a weird amount. Star Voyager went for $10,200.
Why?
That's weird because that one is probably actually very, very hard to find sealed. Because how many Star Voyagers did they make? How many runs of it did they do? You can qualify that as an uncommon game, right? My friend has Star Voyager, Kevin, but no one else did. It's not a beloved game. Rue actually put it in the work reviewing it for the NES Guidebook and actually played it properly. Well, it's not a heralded game. That to me is either someone a cross section like NES collector realized, oh, that game's actually hard to find, and thinking that because that one's significantly hard to find than a Super Mario Bros. 3 sealed, that'll actually be worth money in the future. I think that's wrong, but I think that's the mentality there. Like sure. That one is actually rare. Like you would be hard pressed to find a Star Voyager sealed. And then we go back to Ian, another Pac-Man Atari 2600. It went for $9,600. So the price hasn't gone down. There's been several of these that have come up now in Heritage, and the price is still maintaining. I'm flabbergasted.
I mean, that can't stand forever.
No, it can't. Supply and demand has to come in. So Ian, I went and looked at my my game list, and I said, you know what? Do I have a Pac-Man sealed? I have a Pac-Man Atari 2600 sealed, and I'm not bragging. That means I could potentially make money on it in this crazy market. But a lot of people have a sealed Pac-Man. A lot of people have a sealed Pac-Man. I'm not saying mine's a 9.4 or whatever, but I have one. And if I got one easily, and when I looked at my notes section, of the game, mm-hmm. I literally, and I put this in years ago, I forgot. I put sealed, and I put a little emoticon, ooh, like face, meaning that I know it's shit. I listed that years ago in my whenever I came across it. I don't know if it was a swap meet or a game convention. I probably bought it for $1. But now I want to go get it graded because I got to cash out on that dollar game and sell it for, even in bad condition, it'll probably go for hundreds of dollars at this point.
Well,
It's nuts.
there's the 9.4 Pac-Man that went for 2,700.
Oh, so there was a tail off there.
Yeah.
Okay, so mine will go for only $400. My 7.0 or whatever. It's nuts though, and it's nuts that the other Atari games are going for anything at all. Like Empire Strikes Back going for $5,040. By the way, a 9.8 A++ sealed, probably pulled from a shipping box. Here, now we're starting to see this. You love Snoopy, Ian. Snoopy and the Red Baron for the 2600. You can definitely tell the history of video games without that game coming up. Sorry, Ian, you can. Went for $4,800.
Yeah, but I mean, I say it all the time. That could be someone who's very much into Peanuts merchandise and wants a perfect example of something related to it.
You give them that benefit of the doubt? I'm not. I just think that's someone that's confusing the markets and thinking, well, this is the first time we see him show up as a video game. Because of that, it'll be something worthwhile.
It's possible, but anytime I see Star Wars, Snoopy, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, anything like that, I always feel like that has to be a factor in the price.
Okay, I think it's the people with a comic book mindset that are confusing it. They're saying this is the first appearance. They're saying this is like a first appearance of a comic book.
Yeah, no, I get what they're saying.
I think that's
one way or another, I feel like obviously it's influencing it.
Because you have to, when you see a fucking Donkey Kong on television, you'll go for $5,200. That's insane. Yeah, that's the worst version of that game. Worst version of that game.
Man, the 2600 version is bad too.
But that's probably worse than that.
Probably.
You see what I'm saying? Like, if you're gonna take that mindset, then to me, what should go for $5,000 should be the fucking arcade cabinet of Donkey Kong, and that doesn't even go for $5,000 because that's the first appearance. This Intellivision garbage game has no historical significance in the least. In the least, for game history, it's not interesting as a game. Nothing. There's nothing to this at all that makes it interesting at all. And there's probably a lot more of them. That's so, like, they're taking a bath. I mean, there's more weird ones, but those are the weirdest ones to me. The Xbox Projector went for $4,800. I'm not going to say for sure, but I saw a note saying that the guy that was in charge of Xbox different consoles doesn't remember that being a thing. That it could be a high-quality mod and maybe wasn't official. I'm not saying that. That's just what I saw it being rumored as.
Did Seamus Blackley comment on it?
Was that the person's name?
Yeah.
I just saw someone leave a note that someone was asked about it at what point in time, and the guy in charge of it said, like, I don't recall that being a thing.
Yeah. So
I'm not saying for sure. To me, that's a weird thing. I wouldn't have taken the risk on something like that. So anyway, there's a lot more. Check it out. You got to sign in. God, there's another Pac-Man one for $2,700. Like you said, I'm looking at it. Another one for a 9 one for $2,000. Oh my God, it's nuts. Mario Brothers for $1,500 on the Atari. Oh, I wish I kept my Dragon Warrior I got for free from Nintendo Power, Ian, because that went for $1,500. The one that was sent out to millions of people, for free. I mean, you can't make it up. Oh, and the Resident Evil Biohazard 4 controller design. Oh, the unreleased design went for $1,500. That's at least a little more interesting if it was unreleased.
Oh, it was an unreleased design?
That's what it says. I don't know much about it there. And now you start to get into the Final Fantasy stuff, Ian, where it's like Final Fantasy VII PlayStation era went for $1,300 sealed. There's a lot. I'm not saying there's a ton of sealed Final Fantasy VIIs. There's going to be a good amount of those. They made a lot of those and didn't sell all of them, obviously, there. So, all right, that's all I'm going to say on here. Fun topic. It's just, I don't know. I thought it would start to tail off. I think it's going to get worse this year. I think it's going to reach a fever pitch, and then maybe it'll burst in a year once you get more and more of these that come on.
I think as COVID settles down and people realize that they can go back outside and do things, that some of this is going to fall apart.
Or when the Atari collectors and other collectors get wind of the insane prices, or people like me, I'll be, Ian, now it's too nuts. I got to start selling stuff into this market because I'd be stupid not to. I got to find my Pac-Man. I don't even know where it is. I got to find my sealed Pac-Man and see how the condition. I don't know. I don't know what the condition is of it.
Go find it.
Yeah.
I should see if I have that sealed Dig Dug still. It's probably worth nothing, but
no, it's not, Ian.
I'm sorry, it's worth a lot of money. It's
Yes.
important. I'm going to get this graded, and you should buy it.
Yes. Come on, Ian. Put that money in your 401k.